Welcome to Engage BDR TV. This is your host, Ted Danik. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Engage BDR. You know, we really don't see my co-founder in a lot of videos, and he really doesn't make a lot of appearances. But this is Ken Kwan. He's my CTO and he's my co-founder. We started this company together about 5 years ago, and I just wanted to kind of have a discussion and talk about some things related to ad serving. I think people should find interesting.
How you doing? Hey Ted, how you been?
Yeah. Ken's a little awkward. He's an engineer, you know. That's how it is. So Ken, tell us about your background a little bit.
I've been coding for a long time, since I was 15. Went to University of Kentucky, got my master's out of there, and came out here in LA about 2007. Went to ValueClick and worked there for a little bit. Then moved on to other startups, and eventually met you, Ted, and we made some magic. And here we are today.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I remember the days. It was just about 2 or 3 of us in an office in Beverly Hills when we started the company, and he was writing ad serving code for us. Just started, the company that way. So we originally started as with the hopes to commercialize our ad serving technology. So it's been pretty exciting. I've actually been a part of the product development process from the beginning too, on the business side, trying to figure out exactly what we need and what our clients need and that kind of thing. So the product has evolved really well. You mentioned you had a master's. What's your master's in?
Computer science, yeah. But to further what you're saying, specifically about our growth over time, that was more the exciting part of our company, right? You remember back in the day, we didn't have much traffic, but over time, watching it grow, I think we started with 4 or 5 servers back in the day, like down in some small colo in downtown.
Yeah, we still have some servers there.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, we have so many now. What are we up to? I think we're at last count, 100. A little over 100. Yeah,
a little over 100 servers, our own boxes, in about 10 data centers around the world. Yep. I see the bills every month, so it's a little.
yeah, I know. I'm trying to keep them down for you.
Yeah. How many requests are you? These guys get really excited about this. But how many requests do you handle per second right now?
Well, just for ad serving itself, this is not including our RTB platform, but just for ad serving, we sometimes peak over 40 or 50,000 requests per second. RTB, sometimes we see up to 100,000 bid requests per second.
Yeah, so it's a lot of scale involved there. It's pretty crazy. So back to your education, and so you had a master's in computer science, and I think that we saw that that's pretty important in the talent that we hire as well too, right?
Oh, for sure. It just seems that we get people that kind of gravitate. For some reason they hear about our company and how we make fast moves and we're exciting. We play with all these new technologies. There's not much. We try to whittle away all the corporate processes these other big companies have, so that we can really just get to the code and just start creating and releasing products. And I think the word has started to spread that we're that kind of company where we think fast, move fast, and deploy fast. And it's very exciting, especially like the kids coming out with masters out of USC or UCLA or in a surrounding area, all the way from China even, they hear about us. And so it's a lot of fun, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's exciting. So I think what's really awesome is I think the majority of our engineers, they all have masters in computer science, right? In our office here.
Yeah, I think so. There's one person that does not, yeah, out of all our engineers. They all have masters, that's right.
Yeah, every one of our engineers here in our LA office has a master's in computer science. And we find that discipline is super important. So we're very specific of who we bring on and bring on as part of our team. But you recently were out in India. What were you doing out there?
I was setting up our Indian wing, our Indian part of our engineering. We pretty much moved our front end development into India, Hyderabad actually. Because we found it advantageous where we could have people working around the clock, right? So, we have so many projects now that there simply isn't enough hours in the day, right? And unfortunately, people have to sleep. And so, we kind of, Ted and I, you and I kind of came up with this idea of, let's, find a place where people are working while we're sleeping, right? And so India is exactly 12 and a half hours ahead of us. And so it's almost the exact opposite of our hours, so it just worked out perfectly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, I mean, we never considered outsourcing. In fact, I've always been against outsourcing, and I think that generally is a lot of times has been, a move that other companies have made that a lot of companies have lost a lot of money doing that. It's very difficult to manage that sort of process. So we actually decided to open our own office there. So it's our own office. We have, our own lease, our own employees, and we went through a pretty tough process of finding candidates there, and it was pretty exciting. So now we have an office out there, and eventually we'll have more locations also. But yeah, back to ad serving, some of the mistakes, I think it's important that, people understand where, a lot of this logic came from. We made some key mistakes in the beginning that we learned from, and, going back to our first ad server, we were talking a little bit about OpenX, limitations there, and you talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, at that time, or back in 2008, OpenX at that time was PHP, and I think OpenX back then was originally set up to actually, it was definitely set up for running ads on a website. It wasn't really ready for setting up serving ads over in a network, where there's a lot of third parties going on, and setting it up to scale was actually quite a task, because it wasn't built for it, to be frank. And then reporting was definitely not ready for what a network needs. As you remember, you're always asking me to try and change the OpenX code and customize it to get the reports you need. Well, that's when we decided, with all the features that you need, it's easier just to write our own. And if given the opportunity of writing our own, now we see the mistakes and scalability that OpenX had, and so we can code out those mistakes or code around them, or just redesign the ad serving itself to where there is no scalable problems, scalability problems that like we see from OpenX.
So we stayed away from writing ad serving in PHP. I mean, I think some of the reasons for that were your experience, right? I mean, what kind of prompted us writing our ad serving in C and native to the web server, and
Sure.
and how did that, where did that come from?
Well, we saw that when we tried to put the amount of traffic we did in OpenX, we saw that it just PHP, is heavy because it has to interpret the code in every request. Of course, you can do some tricks, and cache it or precompile it, but in the end, you want to get your code as close to the iron, right, as possible. C is a compiled language; it compiles down into binary, and so we noticed when we first ran, I think the response time for given the same conditions, given the same hardware, the response time for an ad under PHP, with the same load was maybe about 50 to 100 milliseconds for response time, right? When we switched over to C, we showed that our response time was immeasurable. It was less than 1 millisecond. So immediately we saw the benefits of the scalability of C.
That's great. I mean, we've learned a lot from that, but that wasn't enough,
Yeah, for sure.
So we found a lot of other bottlenecks too, like us serving our own content. That was a big, that was kind of a learning curve that we had to endure. DNS was an issue as well.
Yeah.
What's some of that
Well,
stuff?
serving our own content means serving the images. The heaviest part of ad serving is not really the request and the responses, but actually putting out the creative itself, the asset, the JPEG or the FLV or whatever whatever asset. It becomes very expensive to do that out of your own data center, especially if they're charging you, not unless you got a special deal, but most of these data centers, they're charging you between $15 to $35 per megabit per second. And when you're serving images like that, you're serving at peak times up to maybe almost a gigabyte per second. And so your costs going to skyrocket, and it's unsustainable. It's going to eat in your profits if you just serve out of your data center. So we made a deal with Akamai and Edgecast. Actually, we use them as a backup. But Akamai is our main CDN. I think they have over 137,000 POPs or point of presences out there. And, they give us I think we're paying, a really good amount, or we got a good deal for the amount of bandwidth we get from them. And we serve the assets to the user faster than we could do it ourselves.
I think that was the biggest thing too. I think that we found that we were definitely a bottleneck, and our traffic has been mostly international since we started. 75% of our impressions are served to international users, and that's just because our demand has been so diverse. But we felt that it wasn't, one, it's not fair to serve an impression from a colo here in LA, to a user in Australia or UK or somewhere else. We felt that the impression needs to be served closest to the user. And if we, leveraging Akamai's network, they have a huge network. We felt that it's better that they serve the impression. That was one. And getting into like DNS, and we found a lot of issues with DNS. And even recently, last week we got ass raped by network solutions, and there were thousands of sites that actually went down. And we had a little bit of outage here in LA because of some weird DNS issue. Network solutions, there was a malicious attack against them, and somehow somebody got to mass update thousands of domains and update their DNS servers. But yeah, I mean, outside of that issue, with DNS, why did we choose to go with, and who are we using for DNS?
Sure. So we started with Ultra DNS. The reason we went with the an external DNS, a third-party DNS provider, was because we needed a little more sophistication. The current, if you go with your default provider, like with GoDaddy or Network Solutions, sure, they're going to resolve your IP address, resolve your domain name, but that's about it. What we needed to be able to direct traffic depending on where you are, or where your audience is. So, for example, if you have someone on the East Coast looking for, asking for an ad from us, well, we're not going to direct them to our West Coast servers. We're going to direct them to our East Coast servers so they get a faster response. And so, in order to do that, well, we could have built it on our own, but that type of technology, it's painstaking to build, and we found that going with Dyne DNS, or we started with Ultra DNS, but then we eventually moved to Dyne DNS for extra features. Actually, Dyne DNS, what they also, not only do they do, they call it geodirectional balancing. They also monitor our systems. So if, for example, for whatever reason, if our East Coast machines went down, Dyne DNS would actually quickly see that within a minute, and then immediately reroute all traffic to whatever data center is available, or whatever we assign it to. And so that definitely gives us an advantage, because now we have some redundancy.
Yeah. I think that that was super important for us, but I also think that leveraging, we had Akamai and we had Edgecast, and serving the content closest to the user was awesome. But if the request is made for an ad from Australia, initially the request would still have to go to our data center in the West Coast, and then we'd ping Akamai for the content, or the content would be served by Akamai from Australia. So that was a little weird. So leveraging that and kind of building scale, we decided to co-locate in a bunch of data centers around the world. And basically, if the user is in Australia, it's going to hit our machines that are in Australia, and then that is going to make a request to Akamai to serve the content from Australia. So that's even more robust. And then the geo load balancing is very important, and maintaining uptime and that kind of thing. So some of these data centers and backbones have problems time to time, and it's very difficult for us to know what's going on all the time. We use Gomez and all other types of alert mechanisms to know when something goes down, but DNS actually senses something is not responding, and will automatically fail over traffic to the closest data center, which I think is really great.
Yeah, oh, for sure. That's it sends an alert, lets us know what's happened, and so instead of trying to spend the time rerouting traffic, it does it automatically for us, allowing us to look immediately of, okay, now that we've alleviated the problem, let's solve the problem, figure out what happened, right? The Dyne DNS system allows us that luxury, which allows us to become a little more agile and quick to recover from any outages or problems.
Yeah, that's great. So I think kind of moving into like what we've been working on, we've been in the labs 24/7. That's a Bay Area rap reference, if you didn't catch that. Anyway, so yeah, we've been in the lab, quite a bit, building a bunch of stuff because we've had a lot of demand for technology and focusing really heavily on technology. We got hit with a lot of demand, specifically from the display publisher side. We have clients that are doing billions of impressions a day on the toolbar world, and basically we're building products, customizing them just for them, building a foundation to handle that type of scale. I mean, there's billions of impressions a day. It's not small. It's huge. So overnight, we became a pretty big player in the ad serving business, and that wasn't enough. And so there was a lot of customization that we had to build in, reporting and lots of other things that these guys specifically needed, and we're building that. We built some great stuff for them. But in addition to that, they had a unique situation where they're working with like 25 DSPs, demand side platforms, and selling their inventory on real time bidding because they don't have sales effort to sell all their inventory in house. And so they're giving the publishers, they're taking tags from publishers or taking tags from supply side platforms and giving them passback tags, and when they didn't fill them, they'd run the passback tags, and they'd have huge discrepancies and problems, and it's very difficult to manage. So we saw an opportunity there, and we said, hey, why don't we auction the inventory directly from the ad server? We'll plug into all the demand side platforms because we're already partners with them. We already work with them. Let's plug into all the DSPs and enable auctioning for every single impression. And you've been working on that, right?
Yeah, we've been developing that. Actually, that was a quick turnaround. I was surprised. We started that. We actually started laying down code maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and we're testing at this moment. We give 120 milliseconds for response from our DSPs. Very typical across very typical similar to a lot of the other exchanges and supply side platforms. Simply for every ad serve, we can actually just decide, okay, we can turn this on. When I say turn on, we mean put it up for auction. We can pick and choose. We can do all the traffic going through our system or some of the traffic going through our system. It's totally shapeable, malleable by us. Yeah. So we get to decide. I was surprised that actually we did some preliminary calculations on whether or not our system could scale with that 120 millisecond wait time. Because essentially at this point, you're making your ad response stop. You remember earlier I was saying, our ads respond in less than 1 millisecond.
Yeah.
Now I'm forcing it to stop for 120.
So it's like if let's say, for example, one of our clients does 1 billion impressions a day, you got 1 billion requests already right there, right? And we have to plug into 25 demand side platforms and wait 120 milliseconds for each impression. So you got basically, you multiply that billion times 25 billion. Yep. Right there, and then you're waiting 120 milliseconds for each. So imagine how much scale is required. I mean, as far as from a fundamental standpoint, it's huge.
Oh, sure. And that's why we're spending a lot more money.
Yeah. So we're basically doubling our infrastructure. We'll have a few hundred servers, across a bunch of data centers, strategically aligning and moving ourselves into data centers that other SSPs are plugged into as well. So that's kind of an exciting place.
Oh, for sure. It's always fun lighting up new data centers. It means I get to travel a little bit,
I dislike it. I just see the bill at the end of the month.
Well, I think we just opened one up in Amsterdam.
Yeah, why are we in Amsterdam? I don't understand. I didn't understand that. But anyway, so that's exciting. I'm really interested in seeing how this plays out. So we're inviting beta partners right now from the DSP world to plug into us. We'll be offering inventory initially from our big web and toolbar display publishers. We're also going to be auctioning all of our premium direct buy inventory from Engage BDR, fully transparent. So all of the inventory all of our full service inventory will also be auctioned as well. So the principle behind this is basically, hey, let's provide incremental demand for publishers. So if a publisher has the opportunity to sell their inventory direct through their own sales effort, that's great. You sell a display unit, you're selling it for $2. But hey, what if you have a bid for $2.05 or $2.10 or $3 or whatever like that? Then you should sell it and preempt your direct demand, because really, the end of the day, yield is more important than then hey, maybe you don't need a direct sales effort. Maybe every single impression that you sell will be auctioned, and we believe in that, and that's why all of our inventory is going to be on RTB very soon, and we'll be competing against you'll be competing against our clients for that inventory, so our direct clients. So we're excited for that. On the DSP front, I know you guys have been really pushing hard. You had most of the entire team focused on DSP. What are you doing there?
Yeah, so we're revamping our system. Actually, we found our first iteration. We found problems with it. As a matter of fact, we discovered that writing a DSP or an RTB platform is actually very difficult as opposed to just simply ad serving, right? There's just so many filters and logic, business logic involved that so many parts working together. If one piece fails or if one piece doesn't quite work right, then the whole thing starts to fall apart. And so we simplified our architecture, thereby allowing us to be more agile with the code and allowing us to solve bugs very quickly, as well as it allows it to be more scalable. Scalability is always an issue, in this game, right? So we were seeing problems with the first iteration where parts weren't scalable. We identified those parts and we designed them out in this new version. So I'm very excited about this new one. It should work 100 times better than what we had before, and a lot easier for me to maintain for sure.
So I think we're the first ones to admit, when something isn't working, we want to be pretty transparent with our clients. And if it's a piece of shit, we're going to say it's a piece of shit. But I think the first iteration was a piece of shit.
Yeah,
fully transparent with regards to that with our clients. We've always been. They appreciate that. Second version was a polished turd. So it wasn't that bad, and it works, and it's making people money, and people are spending quite a bit of money there. We boarded close to 1,000 customers since we started in our first impression real-time bidding demand-side platform. So there's definitely a lot of activity, and people are working. It's working for people now. But the new version, which is in beta right now, it's released to a few partners. Will be out in wider beta very soon over the next few weeks, and we're anticipating some revolutionary changes.
Oh, for sure. It's going to be better for everyone, especially for the end user or, the media buyer. They're going to be able to manage their inventory, make these bids, and they'll have a lot more data to work with, thereby allowing them to make better decisions on what to buy and when to buy. It's also going to be easier on our side because maintainability is key at this point, especially on a system that scales that large, with hundreds of thousands, and we expect it to be. I like to see by the end of the year, all our bidders handling, well over 500,000 requests. I'm sorry, yeah, 500,000 requests per second, which basically is probably all the inventory on the internet.
Yeah, that's great. So I also feel confident about, we've been very good with leveraging third-party brands to build our own, and that's a great place. Trusting other brands that have a proven track record. So we integrated Compete. We're the first to integrate Compete inside a demand-side platform. So you have audience and demographic data by Compete, so you could pull sites based on that, which is really great. Compete never had the capability of caching data. We did a deal with them and we did it. So it's super fast. So you can pull demographics and pull sites that way. In addition to that, we integrated What Runs Where. We're the first DSP to integrate What Runs Where. What Runs Where is a trusted brand. We use that as well as a bunch of other tools in our own direct media buying effort. That's integrated and it's functioning well, and we'll be integrating the creative feature and functionality very soon where you'll be able to see competitor advertising, advertisers, creatives, etc. We're also going to be integrating another solution that'll help people media plan on RTB much better and much more effectively. It's a new company called AdFin, which was the CEO of that company is a dear friend of ours who was the chief revenue officer of Pubmatic. We have a great relationship with them, and they have a really awesome tool. So that'll be integrated in there directly. And in other products and tools, as we see, that they're a great fit and help our clients buy more media and more appropriate media. I think we're quick to integrate that stuff. And the way the new system is built now, it's compartmentalized, and we could add modules to it very quickly, and upgrades and those kind of things. So we're excited. We're also going to be looking into launching real-time bidding for email very soon as well. Excited for that. And mobile, more SSPs will be integrated very soon, and more direct integrations with publishers on the premium side. We're expecting that to happen as well. Anything else coming for DSP that you could think of?
I think you pretty much covered it all. I can't think of any at this time.
Yeah, so
more international inventory.
Yeah, so more international inventory as well, and also some of the other things that I'm gonna talk with Chad in another interview about, specifically about white labeling our demand side platform to high volume display publishers, and that's kind of where we think that commercialization of our technology could be a lot of value to people. There's a lot of display publishers out there that really don't have the capacity of working with the mid and long tail advertisers. Advertisers that want to spend $100 a day or something like that to test, and they just won't take that kind of business. They have minimums and things like that. But we have the capability of licensing our technology to them, so that we provide a kiosk, and so it would be a white label of first impression, and it would just be their own inventory. And that kind of fits really well into the ecosystem of DSP, SSP, and ad serving that we're really trying to build.
Yeah, I think it sounds we've been planning on unifying this whole ecosystem, bringing it all together. Really benefits actually everyone. The publishers, makes it easier for advertisers to come in and buy media through this unified system. Yeah, it's a win for everyone all the way around.
Absolutely, and the migration of our Blink ad server to become part of the First Impression family, that's going to happen very soon too. So we'll have First Impression DSP, First Impression SSP, and First Impression ad serving. Yep. So it'll all be interlaced very soon. Yep. Awesome. Any last words?
No, don't go see Man of Steel. It was horrible.
He's such a hater. His engineers are a little weird, but whatever. Anyways, well, thanks so much for your time, and feel free to reach out to us directly if you have any questions or thoughts or any ideas. We're all open. My email is ted@engagebdr.com, and you can reach Ken.
Ken@engagebdr.com.
Awesome. Thank you.